Hello, Canada. Welcome to the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Tagai. Well, we have another big bombshell here, guys, from none other than Daniela Cambone. The U.S. administration is getting really tired of our crap up here. They know what's going on. They know how deep the corruption goes. But nobody in mainstream here is talking about it. Why? Well, it's the narrative. It's the control. We're just going to try and expose a little bit more of that and slowly try to bring this information, this truth, out there and hopefully spread it to as many people as we possibly can to try and break the stranglehold that mainstream and the government has on its people. So without further ado, let's just kind of get started.
Don't fool
But
us.
I was once upon a time a proud Canadian, Mark. And this
Not
has
anymore.
been a huge wake-up call of, hold on a second. Sam, do you feel that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of proud Canadians that have had their pride debased because it's been revealed for the whole world to see that, as President Trump, in a very harsh way, has said, Canada doesn't have a functioning military. But the reason for the tariffs, I believe, and I'm told from within Canadian government sources, is unfortunately, President Trump is right. Canada cannot prosecute transnational organized crime. The US government, for at least 10 years, has been bringing intelligence to the Canadian police and saying, we know that Chinese triads set up in Vancouver and Toronto are running Western Hemisphere money laundering. So the TD Bank case, the Mexican cartels are distributors, but the Chinese triads set up in Canada under weak laws are funding. They're funding those loads before they go out. They're funding the logistics. The American government does not trust Canada Border Services Agency. It now holds back critical intelligence from the RCMP due to corruption concerns and due to broader concerns with Canada's systemic loopholes around the laws. So it is a fact that that is intellectually honest Canadians, or ones that are able to take the loving barbs of people like Mark Gahotas saying, Canada's a great place, but don't be disillusioned. Its laws are simply non-functional, right? And this is not an exaggeration. This is what the American government is honestly pointing towards, that Canada, like Mexico, like Panama, has the same infiltration of crime issues. And I do believe there's a growing portion of Canadians that are taking it seriously, that facts like we don't have federal police in our ports in Vancouver, Halifax, Montreal. Organized crime has taken over and infiltrated those ports. Daniela, officials in Vancouver say 0.5% of all containers coming into the fourth busiest port in North America are searched. So it's open season for organized crime. And anyone that's doubting the intelligence of the Trump administration, that Canada, British Columbia specifically, is a major production and export node for fentanyl, all Canadians need to know this is true, right? So I do believe there's a dawning recognition among Canadians that we've just been sleepwalking through the dysfunction of our laws, and we need to wake up, or we will be, whether we like it or not, we've lost our sovereignty. We need to put some real laws in place.
Question here, because there's been pushback, right? Also from Stephen Harper, former conservative PM of Canada, speaking to a podcast, and I'm curious to get your response, both of you. He said there's no migrant flow happening from Canada to United States of any significant numbers. And I'm going to tell you right now, drugs, guns, crime, most of those things flow north, not south. Adding to that, CNN did a fact check saying Canada makes up just 0.2% of US border fentanyl seizures. And the real issue is, yes, Mexico not Canada. So two things there. The pushback has been like, well, why don't we look at what's flowing from the US to Canada?
Most people in the States already know CNN is one of the worst propaganda machines of the globalists. They figured it out. I mean, they're plummeting. Their ratings are absolutely just atrocious, but it's for good reason. These people are they're pushing an agenda.
Canada. So the amount of guns Canada's getting, the majority coming from the US. And is the fentanyl problem, I mean, if you look at the numbers, the 0.2%, are those just a lie?
I'll give before I know Mark's chomping at the bit, but I'll give some facts and data points. Look, my book, Willful Blindness, reported on the fact that 85 tons of precursor were seized from a purportedly legitimate businessman in Vancouver around 2017. 85 tons of fentanyl and meth precursor. This was directly connected to a BC government casino investigation, which involved what is called the Company. This is Chinese organized crime set up in Canada, running that North American money laundering for the cartels. 85 tons produced into fentanyl can kill everyone in North America a few times over. 1,000 kilograms of fentanyl precursors seized by CBSA in 2022 in Vancouver's port. That's just one shipment. It was disguised as toys from China. And as I've said, only 0.5 of 1% of containers are searched. One more figure. We've talked about these super labs up in British Columbia, tucked into the mountains when there's like 2 police officers there. These are Mexican cartel, Chinese triad super labs. The RCMP caught 95 million doses of fentanyl. They confirmed in a press conference that they knew a shipment was due to go outbound. They won't say whether it's Japan, Australia, United States, but that's a DEA investigation. The RCMP would not, and I can tell you the DEA doesn't have confidence that anyone will be prosecuted in Canada. So Mr. Harper, look, he's a strong leader. He's saying what the few good Canadian leaders have to stick up for Canada. But the fact is, and it's known within Canadian law enforcement, that Vancouver is a production hub for exporting fentanyl abroad. And the last point is 40 kilograms of fentanyl caught at the border, of the northern border of the United States. I think that's probably attributable to the U.S. government has given Canada a pass, whereas they treat the Mexican border like a military outpost. Canada is open season.
No.
The corruption is deep. Now, he had mentioned the TD Bank there earlier. I don't know if a lot of you are aware, but our banks here, do you remember Trump throwing it out that there's no American banks in Canada? That was a subtle hint. This is the art of the deal. You don't give away your cards. He was throwing a subtle hint. The corruption in our banking system is huge. The money laundering. It's at all levels. It's protected by politicians, protected by bureaucrats, and yes, like Sam just said, it's even protected by our charter. We've got to change laws. We've got to get with it. Down in the States, they have laws. They've changed certain rules and regulations in order to be able to hold these banks to account, to give them the ability to search these accounts and follow the trails of money laundering. Everything from drugs, stolen cars, everything. Here, we don't have that ability. Nor does anybody in the government have the will to try and change it or to find it. Why? Why?
Treasury departments. TD's also been hit by an asset cap, which means that its U.S. business is now facing growth restrictions. Now, that's a way for regulators to ensure that the bank improves its compliance. So in this case, until TD improves its anti-money laundering monitoring system, its reporting and risk assessment systems to a level that U.S. regulators are satisfied with, it will be restricted from taking on new business in the U.S.
Wow. So how has TD responded to all of this?
TD says it acknowledges and takes full responsibility for the failures and that there are, quote, significant efforts underway to remediate their anti-money laundering program in the US. Now,
it doesn't matter. They've been exposed. And the kicker is how deep this goes. This goes deep, people. So the whole tinfoil hat, you may want to go to your cupboards, open the drawer, grab the tinfoil, wrap it, and throw it on your head because you're now part of this whole conspiracy theory. It's not. It's not a theory. It's real. We've been completely infiltrated.
So the cancer of Canada. Wait, Sam, is the cancer of Canada really just in BC? Is that where it's most pronounced because of obviously the proximity to China?
Well, the money laundering piece, Toronto and Vancouver are command and control. This is U.S. government saying it openly. I have on the record interviews. Triads run money laundering in the Western Hemisphere for Latin American cartels that do the distribution and do the murders, right? It's a Chinese, you could call it a corporate operation run out of Canada. But so that's that. The actual street level dealing is growing across Canada, but British Columbia, if I want to make one point that doesn't get forgotten in this whole podcast, British Columbia is a node of international drug trafficking like Panama, like Mexico. And that's what the US government knows. That's why we're getting targeted with these. Really, as JD Vance said, we've asked you nicely for a long time. We get nice words back, but nothing changes.
So basically what I'm hearing, my takeaway, forget your $1.3 billion thrown at the border, forget the fentanyl czar. I mean, this runs way, way deeper.
It's very deep. It takes a change of laws. It takes a racketeering act, which is not here in Canada. It takes carve-outs of our Charter of Rights, which gives tremendous coverage to transnational crime. It takes Canadian leaders being honest with our citizens and saying, like Mr. Mean Mark Cohodes said, yeah, we are Arctic Mexico now, and we can get back to being the proud Canadians of our ancestors in World War II, but it's going to take some real tough medicine and some powerful people will have to take
I have to ask you guys this because we're in the midst of this liberal leader race. I mean, really between Carney and it's really Carney. We know it's going to be Carney, but let's say Carney and Freeland. Any thoughts on these two players?
Mark will have thoughts, but I know that it's basically an under the table baton pass from Justin Trudeau and his office, Katie Telford, Gerald Butts, Brian Clow, to Mark Carney. It's a carnation of Carney. And you look, I have a concern because I know that the US government does not trust Justin Trudeau, and it does not trust the staff around Justin Trudeau. So if they pass that baton under the table to Mr. Carney, as internationally respected as he is, I don't think the American government.
But Justin Trudeau, with those schoolboy looks and charm, wasn't he supposed to be the good guy of Canada?
He was supposed to be, but when you have, as I told you, Daniela, last time, when an investigator that can't summons people or subpoena people can find pictures of organized crime at fundraisers with Mr. Trudeau, when my law enforcement sources say RCMP surveillance has same photos and concerns, what more do I say, right? I mean, I don't care if you taught at West Point Grey and you look good in a suit.
Yeah.
Your country's in trouble.
Yeah, well, gosh, I hope the three of us can all still cross borders soon. I'd like to see my family in Canada, so hopefully this.
And how deep does it go? And how obvious has it been? It's been really obvious. Except Canada has been treating us like a dog. Anytime a whiff of reality comes, they throw the ball. There's the ball. There's the ball. Focus on the ball. It's all about the ball. When this is where our government is.
When you brought the Young Global Leaders Program here for executive education and the Schwab Fellows. But there are two countries in the world now in which the young global leaders have emerged. Tell us just a bit about that. in terms of the governance?
Yes, actually, this notion to integrate young leaders uh, is part of the World Economic Forum since many years. And I have to say, when I mention our names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin, and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina, and so on, is that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for...
Everybody's in there. Everybody's in there. Macron, Ardeen. There's a pile of leaders. Angela Merkel. All of these people are part of this socialist corporate idealism.
For Prime Minister Trudeau. And I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
Over half. I'll be doing a video about this soon. We've been completely infiltrated. The media isn't talking about this. They're trying to do the exact same thing that the Biden administration did down south. Biden wasn't actually voted. There was no preliminary. They gave him the seat. They fooled the people. And then you have people down there, just like the liberals up here, proud card holders. Card holders. Sounds like something out of the, German regimes from the early 19th century or 20 to 1940. And then when it came out that this man was suffering from dementia, which pretty much most of the people within my field who are involved in searching for the truth and trying to get it out there, or just history buffs and political buffs, we saw that this man was completely incompetent. Why would they do that? Well, they did it because he's a puppet. He's a puppet. And then when it became exposed and they realized they were losing control without a vote, they grabbed Camilla and put her in. Does this sound familiar? Trudeau got exposed. Well, mind you, his policies also destroyed our nation. But they're doing the same thing. Exact same thing. So they're just disguising or covering in order to hide us or hide the information from us about who's really in control.
Yeah, right on. So, Kian, what do you make of Mark Carney, his appearance the other night there on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and the fact that, if he's running, I think all signs are pointed to him being the next Prime Minister of Canada?
Yeah, every other candidate seems to be fumbling the ball, but, he's doing his own share of that too. What's concerning is what you mentioned, it being dystopian, that this guy comes out supposedly as an outsider and is likely going to become leader of the Liberal Party, and by a result of that becomes our prime minister. I'm not a member of the Liberal Party. I don't think you are, and I don't think the majority of Canadians are, and they certainly haven't cast a ballot for Mark Carney, yet he's going to have the opportunity to govern a G7 country just because the Liberals chose Liberal insiders.
He isn't even an MP. He doesn't hold any vote. Nobody voted for him. Nobody. Do we even know what riding he's going to try to get into? They'll place him in the largest stronghold of liberal socialist supporters to ensure he gets a seat, to ensure he gets power.
Chose him. So when he builds himself as an outsider, that's even more hilarious, right? Like Justin Trudeau's closest allies are aligning himself with him on the back end of his campaign. So him calling himself an outsider is the biggest joke of all, I think.
Well,
And get ready, because what does mainstream want? They don't want us to know this. Okay, people, ball, go fetch the ball.
As you know well by now, Trump agreed to a 30-day reprieve on blanket tariffs last week after Canada made a series of promises on illegal drugs and border security, including appointing a fentanyl czar and listing Mexican cartels as terrorists. Look, for weeks now, we have been discussing on this show that the threat of fentanyl coming from Canada into the United States is actually really quite minuscule.
Right? It's minuscule. It doesn't exist. This is just Trump. This is just Trump being a bully. This is just Trump being the mean orange man. When in reality, this has nothing to do with Trump. You got to remember too, we're paying. These are people who are trying to get into the new space of media. Our tax dollars are paying for these individuals and their shows. They're paid for by you. And some of them are absolutely insane, like this one.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau just got caught on a hot mic. That means a microphone that he didn't know was still plugged in. And he said that Trump is not joking about trying to annex Canada and make us the 51st state.
Okay, I'm not even going to play any more of her because this woman is a complete psychopath and she is a fascist. She's a wannabe. She's paid for by the liberal elites. She's I don't even know how to explain how deep into the socialist ideology that is now our government. And she is saying anything and everything they tell her to, and they're pushing her and promoting her. And you got to remember, this is the government. They manipulate everything. I would doubt half of those subscribers are even real. They're probably bots. Probably more than that. All verbal diarrhea. And it just keeps coming.
Now, I want to ask you about another comment we heard earlier today from Ambassador Hillman, who put out there what I think a lot of people think, Scott, which is Trump has a whole bunch of reasons for.
And don't forget, too, this is another huge strategy that they use. If you watch some of the other videos I do, I try to get this across because this is a big tool they use. Hate and division. They want hate and division. This makes it easy for them to retain power. Stir the pot. Make us focus on something that appeals to the deepest, darkest side. Really the side that us Canadians, ever since the Second World War, have fought so hard not to have to do. We're a peace-loving people. We wave. It's total strangers. You're going down the highway. You wave. That's gone. In the last 9 years, it's gone. They want you to hate. These people are insane.
Why he wants to put these tariffs in place to pay for things back home as a tool, as leverage. Doesn't that make it exceedingly difficult to negotiate with someone when you don't really know what their motives or end game really is, what it is?
No question. And that all strikes me as absolutely valid. I mean, yeah, on the one hand, he genuinely believes it'll be a source of revenue that he can then, go off and have delusions that he can eliminate personal income tax.
There's the ball. Go fetch.
Tax and finance all of it from taxing other countries through tariffs. I'm sure that he thinks that maybe this pressures us into considering broader arrangements like a customs union. I'm sure that he thinks this gives him leverage in renegotiating Canada-U.S. free trade. Like, there are a million fathers to this particular orphan.
Why don't they just show the obvious? It's literally right there. They've been telling us right in the open what they want.
Fentanyl. What does it have to do with the Canada-U.S. border issue that's going on right now? Hi, I'm Brian Lilly, political columnist for the Toronto Sun. If you listen to members of the Trump administration, well, this is all about fentanyl. And in fact, they've called it a drug war, not a trade war. Here's Ken Hassett.
It's totally 100% being miscovered, this story. What you need to do is go back and read the executive order where President Trump was absolutely 100% clear that this is not a trade war, this is a drug war.
Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary, had a similar comment last week.
The president is focused on ending fentanyl coming into the country. You know that the labs in Canada are run by Mexican cartels.
But if you listen to Canadian officials, well, they will tell you that fentanyl is not an issue, that less than 1% of the fentanyl intercepted crossing the Canada-US or crossing into the US across a land border came from Canada, just 43 pounds last year.
Well, we've already proven that wrong, haven't we? Sam Cooper just blew the lid right off of that. We know that's definitely not true. And then the whole illegal immigration. Sure. We have so few of them that cross. We don't even count. Did you know that over 80% of the known terrorists that enter the U.S. do so across our border? Mainstream isn't telling you that, is it? So it doesn't matter if there's 1 million immigrants coming across the South and 10,000 coming across here. If of the 10,000 crossing here, there's 100 of them that are known terrorists that literally are going down to the United States to do harm. And especially lately, we have this full left push to try and divide the people in Canada. We got these Hamas supporters on the streets protesting. Why? These people, they want to hurt the Jewish community. From the river to the sea, they want to cleanse the planet from Jews. We're allowing these people into our country. And how many times have the Americans been busted? Two, 3 times a year we're hearing about it, how they catch another one who they're planning on doing some nasty event south of the border. Where'd they come from? They came from Canada. Now, this is older, but this there's still piles of this media coming out, completely debunking the mainstream narrative.
At the uppermost reaches of New York State, the St. Lawrence River marks the border between the U.S. and Canada. In winter months, the river freezes, creating a frontier of ice and, for drug smugglers, a highway of seemingly infinite lanes between the two countries.
And there's sections of where you can actually drive across it with vehicles, with snowmobiles, with ATVs, whatever. You can walk across it, snowshoe across it.
Wade Loftman's Border Patrol Station is responsible for patrolling roughly 30 miles of the world's longest shared border. A border that is often forgotten was brought into the limelight earlier this month when a Government Accountability Office report said the terrorist threat from Canada was greater than from Mexico, and that only 32 miles of the border was adequately patrolled. James
Did
Burns,
you hear that? There it was. There it was. Right in the open. We've known this, but our media doesn't want the everyday citizen to know this. They just keep hiding this. Throw the ball. Give us something else to focus on, especially with all of the scandals. We've seen this for 9 years. Every time there's a scandal. I mean, think about SNC-Lavalin. The government should have fell. He broke the highest rules, the highest law in Canada. And he's been there for how many years after? They gave more time to a $6 glass of orange juice on the previous government than they put into SNC-Lavalin. This is insane. And the whole immigration thing. Everybody's like, whoa, wow, they watch what was in the South. Millions of people coming across. People. Per capita, we have let in more people than the States has, even with their open border. Per capita, Canada has been flooded. This is the post-national state that the globalists are trying to push. It's not going to change under Mark Carney. It'll get worse. And even when they say, oh, we reduce the numbers because we see it's hurting, they're still way above where we should be. They're flooding our country, and they're not picking the nice ones. They're purposely bringing the bad ones from every different ethnicity, religion, and race. It doesn't matter if you're Catholic or if you're Muslim or if you're Jewish or if you're... Everybody knows every religion has got some bad people. These are the ones they're bringing in because they want us to self-destruct. They want us at war with each other. They want us to hate. And that's not the Canadian thing to do. I'm sorry, but when I watch the hockey games and the basketball games and I'm watching Canadians booing Americans, my heart hurts. That's not Canadian. It's not the American citizens' fault that our country has been destroyed. That's our fault. Why are we booing them? We got to take a step back. Take a look inward. Realize, is this the Canada that we thought we lived in? I sure know that this isn't the Canada that it was 10, 12 years ago. This country has completely transformed. The resemblance of Canada is almost gone. Now, here's another thing. I don't understand why a lot of people aren't talking about it. Why are the provinces paying for the border patrols? That's not provincial jurisdiction. That's federal. Nobody's talking about it. Why? Because Parliament has been shut down. We haven't had a Parliament since September, October. And the media, all the time they would give would be, oh, bad Conservatives did that. It wasn't. It wasn't just the Conservatives. It was the Bloc. And begrudgingly, the NDP had to do it too because they didn't want to look like they were supporting the corruption. It's been shut down because there's hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, possibly trillion or more dollars that are gone in this green slush fund. And they're hiding the paperwork. They're hiding the documentations because they don't want Canada to know where those funds are going. Where are they going? I'll be doing an episode on this. They're going to like Mark Carney's foundations. They're going to these businesses that are part of the Green Initiative, part of the WEF. And our government knows that if they were serious, they'd have to open Parliament and they'd have to run a money bill. It would have to because they need the funds. Why are the premiers protecting them? Think deep about this. Why? How come there's only one Daniel Smith, the 1.5? Mo. Oh, man. Canada misses Brad Wall. Mo. Why aren't you saying it out loud? Saying the obvious. There is, I can understand, yes, okay, you don't want to do harm to your country. You don't want to insult your own country on the global stage, let alone the people. You don't. But if we don't know the truth, how are we ever effectively going to have change? So no Parliament, no money, no vote of non-confidence. Do you see where I'm going with this? That way they have time to put Mark Carney into power. Why is the province spending money? I have no idea. And I'm talking like lots of money.
For our part, a re-elected PC government will invest $50 million to purchase 2 more H-135 helicopters for the Niagara Region Police as well as the Windsor Police Services.
What? That's not, that the provinces shouldn't have. We're already paying how much of our, like over 50% of our money right off the hop goes straight up. Province gets how much, federal, the part that goes to the federal government is supposed to pay for that. Now, I can't stress enough too, because a lot of people aren't aware of this. The Liberal NDP regime in their tenure have spent more money, you ready for this, than every prime minister has added together since we became a nation. In a single tenure, they have spent more money than all other prime ministers combined since Canada became a nation. Something for you to think about. We got to do some serious cleaning. I don't know if we start from the top or the bottom, but we need to get serious here, people. This isn't small fries, and especially now when we've got the largest economy and military on earth looking at us going, are you going to actually do something? We can't let you spiral that far down the socialist slide, because we're literally their largest border. That's not what they want. And I know it's not what you want. We've got to get on this. We've got to get serious. And I'm just glad that I could get the word out. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you get updated every time we get a new video out. Until next time, this is the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm Elias Tagay. I'll see you soon.